Hello everybody, Tracy Sizemore here, August 20th, day 20 of RPG A Day. The question today is, what's your best source for out-of-print RPGs? And I'm just going to skip that one. First of all, I don't know. Second of all, I probably don't care. So I'm just going to skip it. But I'm going to go to an alternate question that is going to be difficult for me to answer, I think. And that is, but it's one of the most intriguing questions of the RPG Day, I think. And that is, what do you want out of an RPG experience? I've been asked this before in a different way, and I've talked about it with my role-playing friends a lot. And I think, I don't know, there's a danger in answering that question with what you think you want versus what you actually want. And I've thought about that quite a bit too. But I think it's interesting, and I'm just going to, I apologize ahead of time for my disjointed answer. But I think it's interesting what other people run and what other people do with RPGs, especially other game masters, especially at cons. It seems there's this trend to do the fantastic, right? And that's natural, totally natural. To combine things in crazy ways, or to do the things that you cannot do in real life, which is play in a high fantasy game where you play a wizard and you're casting spells and you're doing these things that you can't do in real life. Or going to crazy, interesting locations and exploring what is at that location. You know, combining certain properties or genres together. Like, you know, this is, I don't know, My Little Pony set in post-apocalyptic Russia. I mean, you know, and that's interesting. And on the surface, it sounds fun. It sounds like, oh, yes, that's, I mean, you know, when you tell people about it, people will go, oh yeah, that sounds cool. I want to play in that. And my reaction to those kinds of things, there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's great. And sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, cool. But it all comes down not to the coolness of the combination or the fantasticness of the setting or the interest of the locations or exploring or whatever. It culls down to what I think the game will be. So if you're combining certain tropes together, my mind goes to, how will I play this character in that place? You know, what role-playing opportunities does that afford me in terms of what I want to get out of a game? And so this is a roundabout way of saying what I want to get out of a game, and why, and sort of explaining why I choose what I choose in terms of designing an adventure or designing a game, especially for a one-shot, especially for con. And this is, you know, we all have our preferences and we all have our go-tos, and we all sort of can get stuck in ruts, especially with role-playing. Some people's ruts are more entertaining and interesting than others people's ruts. So, and I acknowledge that, you know, but I have my own ruts, and I sit here in the back of my head and I think, oh, well, I'm just doing the same old thing all over again, you know. And that's okay. Eventually I come around to the idea that, you know what, that's okay. If this is the experience that I want to get out of my role-playing, there's nothing wrong with it. I can, you know, expand my horizons and play different kinds of characters or run a different kind of adventure if I want to, but no one says I have to. And especially because I run at cons where a lot of different people play in my games, that's part of the beauty of that, is that I can set up an adventure that I spend years, not years, that's not fair. I spend months, for sure, months, crafting a 4-hour one-shot adventure. I do. I mean, somebody else could probably do the same thing in like half a day, you know? I couldn't. Because what I put into my one-shots, I put all kinds of I try to inject something in them that others don't have. And the reason I do that is because I've played in so many one-shots that are fine, but they don't have that little extra. They don't have that little extra polish or little something that makes it unique to that GM. Makes it over the top special, right? I don't know. That's my approach to it. And so I could, be content with, like, for example, I'm running a teenage superheroes game that is finished now. It's been tested twice. It's ready for con play. It's called Teen Crush. And anybody who's seen my social media posts knows that Teen Crush exists, and that I've been working on it for a while. It's going to be a 4-hour adventure. Some people would put this together in half a day. Me, it took me months to put it together, and I ran a mini campaign of it with my home group, which went really well, and I wanted to cull that mini campaign down into a 4-hour adventure. And that was the plan all along, right? Hard. Really hard. And the reason it's hard is because, sure, I could have, okay, you're a teenage supergroup. You are, part of a mentorship program, and you're being called out to a bank robbery, and go, deal with the bank robbery as a teenage supergroup. Go. And I could do that, and I could turn it into a simple, have a couple of fights, because fighting is fun in superheroes, and have a little investigation, and then, we catch the main villain, and we're done. Yay. Happy day. The city is saved, right? I could do that, and I could put that together quickly. Easy. But that's not enough. Not for me. So what I want to put into it is a theme. I like themes. I like to have reasons that we do things. I like to, and most especially, I like to have realistic characters that the player's characters can interact with. I like to have both friendly characters, NPCs, and unfriendly NPCs that have their own motivations, have complex thoughts, and have reasons for doing things. And I like the idea of the PCs not only sort of discovering these things and interacting and engaging with these things, but also well, I lost my train of thought. Also sort of feeling it. So, for example, Teen Crush, there's an NPC called Captain Crush. I've struggled with this guy. And a lot of my struggles with Captain Crush have to do with inclusion. And me being transgender, and empathy, and trying to trying to see things through other people's eyes, and how hard that is, and also how to do that. That's not what the game is about at all. Don't get me wrong. And it could be, that's great, but that's not what the game is about. It's sort of around the game. Captain Crush is an arrogant, insufferable, flashy, pain in the butt. And he is a superhero. He's a cosmic level, I save the world on a regular basis superhero. And people love him. And so, how do you portray that without the PCs hating him? He's their mentor, right? Well, that's the trick. So, and the idea is, this is about empathy. This is about connection. There's reasons we are going to go out and fight these supervillains, right? Not just to save generic civilians and innocents, but because we feel something, because we want to go out and save them. So Teen Crush, Captain Crush, their mentor, insufferable, flashy, arrogant. Like, I saved the world, I'm Captain Crush. Not everyone can be Captain Crush. You are trying, but you'll never quite be Captain Crush, and that's okay. So, that's how he talks. But to make it so that he is interesting to the PCs, they may dislike him, but I want them to care about him enough to go after him because he's going to be attacked. And there's ways to do that. I made him older. I made him vulnerable in certain ways, and he expresses that vulnerability in subtle ways that I think the PCs connect with. And ultimately they've got to go save him. And ultimately there's a story behind why he's been captured and what's going on with him. And ultimately he has an arc of his own where he sort of comes around to the fact that he's not all that. And the PCs have changed his mind on it. And that's the kind of stuff that I've infused into my adventures. That is the good stuff. It's the important stuff. I don't know, if I've done my job by the end, the PCs feel something other than just a satisfaction that they beat the villains. If I've done my job, the PCs will feel relieved, exhilarated, because of a connection they made with a flawed but vulnerable person in their lives. I'm not saying that I succeed. I have no idea whether I succeed. There's all kinds of other things that go into running the games that I run. That even if I don't succeed at that, then I try my best to succeed at making a fun adventure that doesn't drag. So anyway, that's a long, roundabout way of answering this question. But the base question, what do I want out of a RPG experience? I've answered this before, and I think I'll answer it the same way. Is I want some kind of human connection. What interests me most is not crazy tropes that you combine together. It's not crazy settings that you can explore. A dungeon that has all kinds of cool traps or riddles or whatever. That does not, it's fine, but it's not why I play. Why I play is to create some kind of, or to engender some kind of emotional connection that makes me feel connected to the other people at the table. if that makes any sense. To tap into some sort of collective human experience. And usually I do it through NPCs. But that's the point, is to feel something together. You know? I don't know if I do it with Teen Crush or not. It's still relatively new, and part of the beauty of me being able to run these things is that I can run them multiple times at multiple cons, and each time it gets a little better, and I get more confident with it, and I start to tweak those dials and make sure that I'm doing what I intend to do. So Teen Crush is new, but the Case of the Doping Dolphin I've been running for a year, and it's finished, it's refined, it's done in so many ways. It is the best I can do, and it works. And it has those elements of human connection if the players engage with it, but it also has just a really good mystery that can be solved, and an interesting game that doesn't drag. You know, if nothing else, an interesting game that doesn't drag is a good starting point for a role-playing game. But if I can find those ways to get my players to engage emotionally with something in the game, that's where I really succeed. And that's what I'm really after. There are other things that I enjoy about RPG sessions, but I'm going to get to the alternate question of what do you look forward to most in a session later, and cover some of those then. I don't know if I answered this question very well. And I don't think anybody cares what my answer is, but I don't know. So, there it is. And I will talk to you tomorrow.